Hello my dear viewers, another week, another trip to a New York location. This time, I want to show you a little bit of Prospect Park in Brooklyn. And so like always, I could not have resisted taking few pictures, so let me show you what we will be looking at in the next few minutes. Here is Prospect Park in Brooklyn, and we will walk through the whole park beginning here in the Grand Army Plaza, and then going, well, you know what? I was almost everywhere. It's impossible to show and talk about everything in like a 20-25 minute video, but I tried to touch upon as much as I could. In general, however, this is roughly the path I took. But of course not in this straight line on the outer edges. I did not go into this section marked with an X because this is the Brooklyn Museum, Mount Prospect Park, and the Brooklyn Botanical Garden, which in itself deserves a separate video and are outside of the scope of this trip. Around the park you have neighborhoods like Prospect Heights or Park Slope with really beautiful architecture and interesting older designs. And you know you are in Brooklyn and parking space is limited if you have cars parked like sardines, with no space wasted. So let's begin in the Grand Army Plaza, where we have the Soldiers and Sailors Arch, which was completed in 1892 and is dedicated to the Union soldiers of the Civil War. As you see, it is undergoing restoration, so I cannot show you in detail how it looks, but the top you have a sculpture which was added just a little bit after the arch was completed, of Columbia riding into battle on a chariot. In history, Columbia was this sort of goddess which personified the United States, or represented the United States in the 19th and early 20th centuries. As you see here, oh, this painting is lots to analyze with the idea of manifest destiny. Here you see Columbia images during World War I. It was really a symbol of America before things like the Statue of Liberty, for example, took off as the iconic representation. From the other side, we have a memorial for President John Kennedy, with those famous words from his inaugural address from 1961, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." There behind it, there is the Bailey Fountain, where we have a male and female figures on top with like Neptune and Triton, gods below. I'm not that good with my Roman and Greek mythology to interpret this sculpture, and I'm sure if anyone is interested, there is some information online about it. I generally use Google for this channel to sometimes look up dates or some basic information, but if I'm not sure about something, I try to generally avoid internet in providing information on this channel. The same goes for my courses. I always like to do deeper research into topics, as you never know what is accurate and what is not. And this is not a problem just with the internet. You run into the exact same issue even with books. For instance, after World War II, a lot of information was based on German sources, which were very biased. This, combined with inaccurate reportings from war correspondents on the battlefield, led to a lot of myths being repeated over the years. But check out the details like here with the snakes. I mean, anyone that has an attention to detail will really appreciate this in many places throughout the park. The park itself was opened in 1867. However, additions and further work continued for a few more years after the opening, and the two people responsible for this park were no other than Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux, the same individuals who were responsible for Central Park in Manhattan. Here we get to the Lichfield Villa, which was built for Edwin Lichfield in 1857. He was a lawyer and a businessman responsible for much investment and development of Brooklyn. Today, the house is used by the Parks Department and Prospect Park Alliance, which is a non-profit organization really looking after the park and maintaining it. This is the picnic house, which I think can be rented for events like weddings and things of that nature. And it does overlook this beautiful, vast open space where people come with their dogs. I will say that the ratio of dogs to humans here is like 10 to 1. And if ever in the future the dogs do decide to rebel, this will definitely be their headquarters, ground zero for Brooklyn domination. In front are the baseball fields in the background, but there's also interesting things to the left and to the right. So maybe let's first go to the right. And in front of one of the entrances to the park, we have the Lafayette Memorial. Marquis de Lafayette. Many streets and even cities in America are named after him, as well as numerous statues. He was born in France, however, he did come to America and he fought in the American Revolution, becoming one of the more trusted and closest generals to George Washington. And he spent lots of his own money for the cause, eventually even negotiating with France for more support. After the American Revolution, he went back to France, where he helped in writing the Declaration for the Rights of Men and Citizens during the French Revolution, a document based on the American Declaration of Independence. And this is just really scratching the surface, a really remarkable biography which would deserve a whole video on its own. Nearby is the bandshell and a fun park for kids. Whee! Okay, like I was saying, let's go to the bandshell. Here, where various music performances and events are staged, especially in the summer months. And since I am already nearby, let me show you one of the other corners of the park before we begin moving into the interior of the park and then ultimately the other side. So from here, I went back to that dog-dominated field, being very careful not to set off any sense of smell with that sandwich I ate that morning. And now we go into the middle of the park, where you have many trails and paths in really nature. Here is a small waterfall, and there's few other ones as well, but generally they are small. But they do provide a relaxing sound as you walk through some of these paths. And as you see, the area is kept really in this natural way, like with this tree just laying here. Well, that or maybe someone just did not feel like cutting it and carrying it away, and said, you know what, from now on, this is meant to be here. It's part of nature. It's what I used to do with painting. I really sucked at painting. Hence, I called it abstract art and pretended that it was meant to be, on purpose. That's how I drew. Here we walk below some arches, really kind of adds this cool factor, like feeling that you are away from the city. Now, I do not know how you would feel walking here alone in the dark at night, but during the day, it's a very nice walk. And here, off the main path, we see a Quaker cemetery. The cemetery began in like 1820s, and I believe it is still active, meaning people can still be buried here. Although, as you see, it is off limits to the public. As we continue working our way to the other side of the park, we come across the Maryland Monument, which is at the bottom of the Lookout Hill, the highest point in the park. It is dedicated to Maryland soldiers who, during the Battle of Long Island in the American Revolution, provided cover and did counterattacks against a much stronger enemy force in order for soldiers on their side to retreat into safety. George Washington, witnessing the event, remarked, as it says, "Good God, what brave fellows I must this day lose," as many of them unfortunately died performing the heroic task. Nearby is the well house, which was built in 1869, and it was built for the mechanical systems used to pump water throughout the park. Now it serves as a restroom. And Prospect Park Lake, a relaxing place, more so in the summer with trees providing shade from the sun. Here is the view from the other side of the lake with this cool wooden house. However, at this point, I guess I have to show you the third corner of the park. Some parts need a bit of restoration and repair, but we also have these cool sculptures from the 1890s. And on the other side of the street is the parade ground, which today has a tennis center, baseball fields, soccer fields, but back in the days it was also used by the military to perform exercises. And here we have the peristyle, which was completed in 1905. A really beautiful Greco-Roman structure, which honestly just needs a little bit of a power wash to clean it. And we get to the sort of fourth corner of the park, at which point we will begin our journey back to where we came from, but oh, that will not be that easy, as there is lots to see on this side. Starting with this, an ice skating rink. And by the lake, the War Memorial to those from Brooklyn who died in World War I. Little further up, we have the Concert Grove Pavilion. This building was largely destroyed by fire in the 1970s, but the pillars remained and it was reconstructed to some degree. Here's how it used to look like. It is also in this location that we have many statues, like the one dedicated to Abraham Lincoln. Here's an older image of it. We have Beethoven, Mozart, among many others. And Harry's Wall, named after Harry Murphy, who was a co-founder of Prospect Park Track Club, hence usually a place for the beginning and end of races for runners. The wall itself, however, was built in 1874 and has really beautiful detailed carvings. Here in the summers, we have Smorgasbord, a food festival. I believe it has origins in Williamsburg in Brooklyn, hence the name. But it is an open-air market with local food businesses and food trucks selling their goodies. And we get to the boathouse. Completed in 1905, beautiful, white terracotta. And I believe the place can be rented for various private events. And from the other side, you can take a short walk along the water to a nice small waterfall. A beautiful place to relax on the rocks. Continuing on, here we have a carousel from 1912. Unfortunately, it was closed the day I was there, but it is right next to the Prospect Park Zoo. And on the opposite side from it is the Lefferts Historical House. Today it's a museum, but it is a Dutch colonial farmhouse which dates back to the 1780s. Really cool. And check this out, pretty fancy for its time. It came with central AC. Pretty luxurious for a time before electricity. Just kidding. And finally, one last thing I want to show you. As we are coming to the end here, there is a marker with a little backstory to the American Revolution and fighting that took place here as part of the Battle of Long Island. And a little further up on a rock, another marker describing the scene of fighting. Now, many people might have noticed this marker. However, there is one more that I'm sure many miss because it is on the other side and sort of hidden behind a tree, marking the line of defense. And there is the other rock right there I just showed you on the main path, and this one is right here. Ooh, this was a long walk. Again, it's impossible for me to cover everything in this park in a rather short video, and I really don't want to do anything much longer than that or have like a documentary style videos or anything like that. I really want this channel to be light and really entertainment. Hopefully in the process providing a little bit of backstories and history behind some of these places. So I hope you will enjoy this channel and you will find this worth your time. And now I leave you with some images of how this place looks like in the summer. And like always, have a safe and beautiful week, and I'll see you shortly.